It's a countdown.
Welcome to Unique Connections, where we connect the dots personally, interpersonally, relationships, professionally, and work-wise, career-wise. So here I am again with Edward L. Fairley of No Love Inc. He's wearing his shirts. They're available if you want one. I'm sure he'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
But anyway, I have one. Wore it last time, so I thought we'd let him share and wear it this time. But we're going to talk about a couple of scenarios. I'm going to be transparent and kind of use some things that I've gone through at work and ask him to kind of unpack them from a relationship standpoint and what kinds of things to look for in terms of patterns and triggers for ways to change and improve the relationship in the workplace. So, Edward, anything you want to share today about just what kinds of things to look for in terms of triggers when you're dealing with relationships? Is there anything that comes to mind when I say the word triggers?
When you say in the workplace, or you want to?
Interpersonal relationships as it relates to the workplace.
Honestly, I really don't.
Blank?
Great.
So that gives us a great blank script to talk about today. So let me start with my scenario that I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
So sometimes at work, you are in close proximity to people, right? So you share workspace, and you doesn't necessarily mean that you're equal in terms of role and responsibility, but you're sharing space, and so the perception can be that we're on even ground, that we share so much, especially if you're in a shared workspace. It could be cubicle world, and there's so many of those spaces, right?
Okay.
So you could be on the same row with your supervisor. Typically, the leaders are on the corners, or have corner offices, and then the management kind of flows hierarchically, kind of in the placement within the space. But the larger that cube farm is, the more difficult it is to kind of figure out those lines. I'm speaking about where sometimes you may have found a way that you are really close to this person that you're sitting next to because you share your children's stories, you share, how you feel about a meeting you just came out of, you share, how you feel on that day.
Typically at work, you spend more time with the work people than your family.
Right, so you're just sharing how you're feeling.
Okay.
That the power position doesn't come into play because things seem to be working relatively well. At some point in your career or in this situation, you may find yourself, by virtue of your position, having to take a position or a role that is opposed to the person that you sit next to every day. And it may be holding them accountable to some policy or procedure. It may be having to kind of have a crucial conversation with them about some performance issue, just by virtue of your role and where they fit in the situation. Now, that does typically, sometimes if you're not careful, it could change the dynamic of the relationship, right? And where you used to be jovial and you're chit-chatting and talking and everything kiki and life's great, now all of a sudden, I can help you, what you need. Or we're overly articulate. Hello, ma'am. I need this piece of information from you. When you get a moment, could you be so kind as to? Whereas before it was like, hey girl, could you get this for me? So in that situation, it's really about positional authority and determining how to take that. So for me, one of the challenges I had in that situation was the genuine mourning of a loss. Right? There was an intimacy there, and it's no longer there. However, I'm paid to fulfill the role and responsibility of a position that required that loss to take place, or that triggered that loss. How, as a manager, I'm going to ask from both sides. So how, as a manager, do I kind of navigate that situation? And then I'm going to ask you, as the person who is on the other end of that, how could you navigate that situation?
It's not different on either side for me.
Okay.
And it sounds like
both sides have feelings.
It's the mourn of the loss of a thought to be friend is basically what it sounds like. Yeah. And I'm gonna start by saying you cannot lose a friend You can realize you never had a friend, but you can never lose a friend. Okay, so if this person was your friend, let's define friend.
Yes, friend. Now let me just pause him for a moment. Since we're real close like this. So friendship with Edward is a valuable kind of exclusive space in his life, which is amazing. However, and I say this because some of us are going to be like, what you mean you can't lose a friend? I've lost friends over my lifetime, blah, blah, blah. Well, we got to figure out how he defines friendship.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not even going to define it in the sense of how I choose friends. I'm going to define it in the sense that a friend is someone that you're very open, you're very transparent with, and they know and understand you. Mm-hmm. I say all that to say this. In our friendship, mm-hmm. I do, as you stated, I'm very transparent and I hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yes, so that is how I am as a person. So if we are in the workforce and I have adopted you as friend, that will be understood in our relationship. And in the end, no matter what happens, I am going to go on the side of right. If you were wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. If you were right, I'm going to tell you that you were right. So there's nothing in the workforce, no matter what my stance is or what my position is, that is going to change how I'm going to respond to you, whether it's work related or not work related. So if it's work related and you messed up, I have to check you as your boss and even as your friend, whether it be privately or
publicly.
That's how it ended up being. Mm-hmm. That's just the way that it is. Will it hurt that I had to do it? Yeah, but it also hurt that you put yourself in that predicament yourself. So you have to be accountable for your own actions. One of the worst things that I hear people say is, oh, he or she threw you under the bus. That's not possible. No one can throw you under the bus. You can throw you under the bus and someone can shine the light
on the fall.
Exactly. but I did not throw you under the bus. Your action threw you under the bus, not my actions. So I don't get caught up in stuff like that because it's already understood who I am. Now, can I say that I've had to make hard decisions that it was hard for me to do, or it kind of hurt me to have to do it? Yeah. But I always go to the side of right, and I also always go to the side of being able to sleep at night. And what I mean by that is oftentimes, and it's very, very often, and it bothers me to see it, people think they're keeping the peace by not bringing stuff up or addressing certain issues or by avoiding conflict. But you're not keeping the peace if you leave them alone, but there's war within. Mm-hmm. So people will rather be sick or upset or uncomfortable knowing that there's a problem, thinking that they're keeping the peace by not being real with that person, who ends up continuing to do the actions anyway. So eventually they're going to get the truth by someone else. Right. And it prevents you from even being happy, and it causes you to be different and resenting them for something that they can't even fix because they don't even know. So as harsh as this sounds, I am going to sleep at night. I'm going to hurt your feelings before I am going to walk around stressed and upset or frustrated because of something that you're doing to me wrong, or you've created an environment that is making me uncomfortable. I'm going to say what it is, and as my friend, if you cannot respect it in a manner where you change or alter yourself, then I have to realize that I didn't lose a friend. Mm-hmm. I have to realize I didn't have one, because a friend would not allow me to be uncomfortable with the way they treat me, knowing that how they're treating me makes me feel uncomfortable. So that's what I mean by you can't lose a friend. You can realize you never had one, because a true friend, no matter what the situation, will still be your friend. As you stated before in our previous interview, I've shared stuff with you. We're yin and yang, we're up and down, but we're still friends. We've shared those truths with each other, and from that you move on as friends, and oftentimes even grow closer because we made it past that point. But friends or people that aren't your friend, that it ends. Something you did. There's nothing you can do as a friend that can destroy the friendship.
And that goes to perceptions, right? So that's one of the things that. One of the things you have to remember when you're kind of at work anyway is that you're not working with yourself, or if you're managing, you're not managing yourself. So what you would expect you to do is not necessarily how you would judge how someone else should react.
That goes back to our other interview. Visualizing what the outcome is going to be.
Yes, tall, dark, and handsome. Walking in the room, smelling good, looking
or
good.
Or I'm going to say this to him or her, and this is going to be a response. Or, oh, she's going to blow up. Or, oh, she's not going to take it that bad. Or because I presented this way, it's going to be soft. And then they fly off the handle, and you're like, what in the world? So, no, you just share. Share with the intent of getting your intent across, and that's what I do stress. If I know that I made it clear what my intent was, whether you receive it or not, that's on you, but I make it clear what my intent in my statement is, and I'm okay with that. So if you want to make it something bigger than that, that's on you. That's your problem to live with. But I've shared what my intent was. I know my intent is never malicious, and I go from there, and I can see well.
I think there's two things that you said, and this typically would go to what you would hear in a session about crucial conversations. Crucial conversations is those difficult things that you have to talk about, whether it's interpersonal or work, and it's the thing you don't want to say, or that you have to say. So there's two things you said that I wanted to go back to. One is that I'm going to sleep at night. I'm going to sleep at night if I have to hurt your feelings. And the other thing is sharing your intent. So could you go back to...
I do want to elaborate on, because the way you presented it, I can see how that intent could have been read wrong. Yeah. Hurt your feelings is just like when we had the conversation previously, how you said, I sit there and I'm like, okay, after you finish with your feelings...
Eddie can be non-emotive.
When you're
which
finished...
Which is a direct contrast to, are you crazy right now? I don't even...
So, while you're going through all that, this still stands. So, that's what I mean. So, I'm sharing what's going on, and this is where it is. You've done this. This is the consequence of your action. I wish this never happened, and we didn't have to have this conversation, but you still did what happened. I cannot treat you any different from any other person, and this is the way it is. This might hurt you, especially because it's coming from me, but this is the reality of the situation. You've done this. This is the consequence of this, and we have to move forward. Can we move forward? I hope so. I don't want this to be the case, but it is. So this is where it is. Now, if that hurts that person's feelings, that's what I mean. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to avoid this conversation. I'm not going to avoid you. I'm not going to do anything like that to make you feel comfortable and I'm uncomfortable, or I'm potentially in a predicament where I can lose my job. I'm not doing that for you. And that doesn't make me less of a friend. That makes me honest.
Makes you responsible.
and responsible, exactly. So, and so that's what I mean by I'm going to sleep at night. I'm going to sleep at night knowing that I shared my intent, which is why I stress. I wish I wasn't in this predicament. But this is what happened. And this is the consequence of what happened. And from there, your feelings may very well be hurt. It's hurt. I'm hurting that we have to bring this up, but this is what it is, and I leave it there. And I sleep at night. So that's what I mean. I don't want you to think I'm disrespectful and I'm just going to hurt your feelings. I'm saying that I'm going to be honest with you. If that honesty makes you feel
some kind of way,
less of a woman, less of a man,
attacked
or whatever. If that's what that does, I'm sorry, and I'll clarify my intent. Whether you're receptive to that or not, cool. But I've shared, like I stated in the previous one, I share to share. What you do with what I share is up to you. So, and then I move on. So that's what I mean by that.
We, as an employer now, and I'm trying to have these conversations so that part of this is so you can see from the other side of the table what kinds of things are being evaluated or heard or kind of considered. But the other side of that is to prepare you to think about how to respond. how to position yourself to be able to live to fight another day, to live to pursue another position, to retain respect in the midst of a difficult situation, so that you can preserve your brand, right? Because your brand is who you are. That's just authentically who you are. How do I react appropriately, preserve my brand so that I can be considered for opportunities in the future? Like you're saying, it's reasonable to feel like your feelings are in the way, but it's more mature to come across with acknowledge I need a minute.
Yeah,
I'm feeling some kind of way, and come back with I like to resolve it by moving forward. I think one of those things that people always say, come to your boss with a solution.
I'll give you a perfect example of this on the other side of it. So, I think I was maybe 18, 19.
You were?
And I was working for UPS. I was working for UPS during the holiday season where they had they helped the delivery drivers because the loads are so heavy or what have you. I was already working for it as a loader, but I signed up to help for the holiday seasons to deliver the actual packages. So me and the guy, we had a great dynamic going. We were moving. He would throw me the packet. I'd jump off the truck, run, deliver the packet. So me, I'm a very helpful person.
Yes.
And so we're driving. He parks the truck. Now, let me give you a little backstory. I was driving a Mitsubishi Galant. I drive typically manual, stick shift cars. So I was always taught if you could drive a stick, you could drive anything. All right, so that's my backstory, right? So we're driving, we're moving. I mean, we are killing it. We're getting these loads down to a minimum at short periods of time. And he parks the truck here. And I run to drop mine off. He's trying to be efficient. So he runs and goes across to drop off his packet. I get to the car before him. Car's still going. If you could drive stick, you could drive anything. I see the stick shift. I'm like, I can go ahead and catch up with him. It's a cul-de-sac. Let me drive. So I throw
that thing in first.
I put it in the first. I drive around and I end up hitting a mailbox.
At least it wasn't a car.
You cannot drive everything. That's why you need a CDL license for big trucks or whatever. So that was my lesson. So I hit the daggone mailbox. Clearly we have to put in an incident or whatever. He's not supposed to leave the keys in the car.
Exposed another.
Exactly. So we had to put in an incident report. We had to do all this stuff like that. I was driving the vehicle, all this stuff, explain all that. So now my job is on the line. His job is on the line. They expect me to explain myself. I wrote in the letter, because I had to write a letter, I said that I apologize for what happened, but I do not apologize for the intent of my actions. My intent was to help us progress in delivering the packages. I'm really, really sorry that I hit a mailbox and a claim had to be made and all that stuff like that to get that mailbox fixed. But I do not apologize for my intent in trying to be helpful and be efficient in the time that we had with the truck. I'm really sorry that I put the driver in a predicament that he could potentially lose his job. I apologize for all that. But I do not apologize for what I did. I apologize for the outcome of what I did, but the intent behind what I did, I cannot apologize.
You can't leave us hanging.
I still had a job. I maintained my job. I kept the job, and I actually ended up leaving that company. I never got fired. They were looking to make me driver and stuff like that, but I didn't compromise my authenticity and my truth. I just was very honest and transparent.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
it's how you preserve your brand, your personal presence, your authenticity in a situation that's difficult. Well, you be clear.
Yeah, most
right.
certainly.
You were clear about your intent.
Yeah.
You took responsibility.
Exactly.
But by giving all of that information, you had to take a level of trust in the management to weigh all of those pieces and not just focus on one.
And I went to sleep fine that night because I had to find out the next day whether I got my job. But I was fine with whatever they came up with because I was wrong in taking the keys. I was wrong in driving the vehicle. Yeah, based on the policies and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't apologize for my intent.
I think that's what we talked about earlier. Is like, you know, when you're looking for fulfillment outside of yourself,
yeah,
or when you're looking for someone to define your integrity or to determine your success or failure, then you are afraid to have that kind of conversation.
Yeah, well, certainly.
When you are aware that I'm responsible for me, I can leave all of. If I leave 100% at the job that day, then I have nothing to apologize for, and somehow it will work out. Because if you had lost your job because they were that rigid and held to the policies and procedures and kind of went that way, you would at least, number one, be clear. Mm-hmm. There would be no repercussions because nobody could cycle back around about that because you were transparent. Mm-hmm. And number two, you would know that that probably wasn't a good fit for the long haul anyway. Because they didn't take it and look at the big picture.
What's even bigger to me, and it actually validates a statement that I stated earlier, when I stated, or in our previous interview, when I said that it's more important to be missed than to be viewed.
Yes, or to actually.
So they had to weigh what they would have lost had they let me go.
Yes.
Even in my actions, I have value. You understand what I'm saying?
But
if you have no value, they're not looking at the integrity of my words. This was an opportunity to get rid of me.
Right. Okay, so let's just unpack that, right? Exactly. So, employer, right? I'm sitting here, and you're right. You're evaluating what's the cost-benefit analysis or the return on the investment of my decision based on you. Well, I have somebody who's committed to the job, who's willing to go above and beyond the call of duty, who's wanting to give us, the company, a great name, but made a poor decision. Can I correct that with some coaching?
Yeah.
Probably.
Exactly.
The person who responds with, I can't believe that you're even asking me this, and why are we having this conversation? You know I do good work. Well, I'm sorry, that attitude is inherent. Can I correct that with some coaching? Maybe not.
You're not taking ownership of your actions.
Ownership is key.
Yeah. I even brought in someone else. Like I actually said I don't think such and such should lose their job. He's a very good worker. I really enjoyed working with him. I put all of that in there. And I also, like I said, I had to, like, that some things I just have to do. And I'm like, I had to put, but I don't apologize for my intent. Like, I could not leave that out of that letter.
So in communicating that, did you have that already, was that already how you thought before you got into that situation?
Did
that situation spark this authenticity or this truth?
No, my mother sparked that.
Really?
She always taught us to be honest, just be truthful. I mean, it's gonna come out anyway. So just be honest with yourself. And
I'm gonna say this. I mean, I think we can all attest to the fact that in our workplace in general, there's always gonna be that undercurrent of fair or not fair, or does everybody live by the same, standard of conduct or integrity? Well, that's not necessarily your problem.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, I've had so many side conversations.
Please do tell. What kind of
about people keeping my name out of their mouths?
Do tell.
I've had it, and that's just the way that I am. I've been in workplace where people will say, "Well, Eddie can do it. Why can't I do it?" And I'll just politely have that conversation. Can I speak to you after the meeting or whatever? And
the meeting after the meeting.
Yeah, because like what I do has nothing to do with you, and what I'm able to do may very well. I'm gonna put it to you like this, and I tell people a lot because a lot of people they claim they want to be you, like you want to be me, but you don't want to be me.
The price
you don't want to. You don't want
to.
Yeah. So no, not even that. You don't want to do the process. You wouldn't. Matter of fact, you're not me because you won't do the process. You won't go through the process. You won't have the sleepless nights. You won't have the dedication, and you won't build the relationships. You're not interested in people. You're interested in self, and it's transparent. So those who I've proven to be interested in them and their well-being, they might not see my uniform or whatever as a problem because they feel how I'm going to represent the company or what have you. It has nothing to do with the uniform is bigger than the uniform. So clearly it was about the uniform. And in that case, I believe I was working for Cox Communications or something like that. I wore jeans. The uniform was some kind of khaki pants or what have you. I didn't like them.
And somehow you
so I wasn't wearing them. I was wearing jeans. So this guy tried to do the same thing that I did and got called out on it. And well, why can't I? Eddie can. Did you just say that with Eddie in the room?
How'd that go?
Please talk to me after. Well, my side conversations typically always end the issues, but yeah. And that was when I was a more aggressive, not really concerned about how you received my intent. Most certainly.
Yes, because you were younger then. You were younger then.
Oh my goodness.
But let's circle back to crucial conversations and doing the work.
Yes.
So there's a link between being able to effectively have a crucial conversation with somebody from a safe space of vulnerability, right? So typically in a crucial conversation, there's the person who's been offended and the person who's trying to resolve the offense. And if you're the person trying to resolve the offense, you're not necessarily as exposed. So the person that's been offended or is really exposed, done the offense, is exposed because they're probably wrong. Well, doing the work, as he was saying, and this is what sparked in my mind, was empathy, sensitivity, respect, compassion for putting yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Takes work. That is not something that you can just fake the funk on. People respond to sincerity.
Yeah.
And when you say do the work, in order to survive a very challenging career path, like you could go crisscrossing all over the place in all kinds of situations like the ones you described, or like the ones that I've described. The work is unpacking each one of them, checking yourself.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do right? What did I learn? How did I share with the intent? Was the intent clear?
Yeah.
Like you said, you've evolved.
Most
I can say over the course of my career, I have evolved. I'm not even in the past year, I'm not the same manager I was when I first started because experiences have made me more empathetic.
I looked at one of your videos. You all should look at it too. Where you were talking about how even in your position, you felt that those that you were the manager of probably knew more than you. So you put in the work to, for one, add value to them, to ask them questions to show that you were okay with not knowing what they knew and learning from them. But with your mistakes, because of the works that you put in, you stated, that actually would allow for the mistakes that are going to come anyway.
Yes, we make mistakes are inevitable. Because
the work that you put in, though. So if you do not add value, and that's what I call it, if you're not providing value when those things come up, you have nothing. You have no foundation to stand on.
That's what I call social capital.
That's not the corporation's fault. That's not anyone's fault but yours. So any type of conflict, I always start with me first, because I've realized that 50% of any kind of issue is going to be yourself. And if you can figure out what you did wrong and fix that, that in itself can really diffuse a problem or resolve an issue. Mm-hmm. But typically people look outside.
It's you.
Yeah, and
you.
Exactly, which in turn causes them to never evolve or grow because they never found the lesson in where they played a role in. So I always start with me first. I always do. And then I work on what I could have done wrong or what could have been received that way, and then I work my way out. And if I get to you and I realize it's not me, again,
I'm unapologetic at that point, right?
And that's what I mean. So if you're always self-assessing, working from you out, by the time you make that decision, you shouldn't have any sleepless nights. You should not feel bad about your decision making, and you shouldn't I'm not saying that it's not hard, because if, as you stated earlier, if you are compassionate, if you are empathetic, that is a tough decision to make.
It's hard. Because here's the thing, we're human.
Yeah.
We, and I was just reading about it earlier, in our sixth sense, is really triggered by some of the micro behaviors, whether it's your eye movement, your hand movement, and we feel what you feel like. So if you hurt your hand, I'm gonna wince because I feel it. When you're having a crucial conversation, when you can see the pain on somebody's face, you feel that. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether you're right, you've thought about it, you've had you've formulated your position, and you thought through all the responses. When you see the pain come up on that person's face, there is a reaction to it. But if you've done all of the work, there's no regret.
Yeah. But also, too, because I would hope that if you're watching Michelle's videos that you are ultimately going to transition from being anyone's employee to
entrepreneurship,
a boss. You have to get to the point where you can have that difficult conversation, because if you don't, your business is not going to last. Yeah. I have to fire people all the time. And again, I have to bring up the intent. I always inspect what I expect. And so if I bring up my intent and I inspect what I expect, and what I mean by that is I share what my vision is or what I'm hiring you for. I make you say back to me in your own words what it is that I'm hiring you for. You articulate that back. We are clear on what the transaction is, and you do not perform. When I fire you, all I'm doing is bringing back our conversation, aligning it with what you've done, showing you that it did not align with what we did, and I'm letting you go. Because
you're firing yourself.
Exactly.
Let's just be clear.
So like I said, I go to me first. Did I not communicate this right?
Yeah,
so if I can see where the miscommunication has gotten us to where we are, then okay, like you said, you're coachable. Let's go ahead and re-inspect what I inspect, and then go from there. If you mess up again, I can assure you the second time I made it clear as to what it is that we're doing, and it's time to let you go. But if you're getting so emotional about how you made that person feel, like I said earlier, I'm going to hurt your feelings first and sleep well. And now I'm thinking about in a relationship, I know people that have poor sex lives and all kinds of stuff because they don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, they're hurting your body or hurting your whatever or not pleasing you or whatever that is. Like, I am not going to be uncomfortable to make you feel.
Let's pivot for just a moment because he went there. So let's just shift and take this crucial conversation into the interpersonal male-female relationship. So you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings because I'm gonna hurt their feelings before I'm gonna let my feelings be hurt.
Now I've already shared what that means. Now I'm not rude or disrespectful, but I do.
But it's respect for yourself.
Exactly.
So just to be clear, there are people who are in relationships who are silent or not addressing things that aren't going well for fear of having a crucial conversation, for fear of hurting someone's feelings, and are they hurting themselves ultimately?
Yeah, all right, so let's start. I'm gonna answer twofold.
Let's do twofold.
All right, so
a
kite.
Like as in a flying kite.
A flying kite.
Like Benjamin
a flying
Franklin
kite, and I'm glad you brought up the word fly. A kite can only fly against wind.
True statement.
If you go with the wind,
check that out if you need to Google.
The kite is going to go down. It has to go against the wind for it to soar.
That's why we run.
And if you are going, same thing with conflict. If you're going with the conflict, you will never rise above it. It will never. The relationship will never advance or increase or get to that level. There's levels to love, and I've learned that in my beautiful, wonderful. Oh, I love my wife. So there's levels, even dimensions to love, and you will never see the depths of love if you will not address conflict. And if you, as I stated earlier in this particular video, if you are trying to keep the peace by being silent, but there's a war within, you did not keep peace.
No, because you carry the war with you.
Exactly. You have war within. Now you're resenting.
You upset, you leave.
Well, or you're resenting them. Your conversations are short. You feel mad. You're upset. having conversations about stuff or arguments about stuff that is nothing, and it has nothing to do with what you're arguing about. It's what you're not saying.
What you're not saying.
Exactly. So that is only hurting you. And it's not giving the person an opportunity to even fit you. You don't even know how that response is. Again, we are playing an image in our mind. Oh my gosh, he's gonna feel exactly. He sees he's gonna go off for it. She's gonna go off for it. She's gonna feel less than a woman if I tell her this, or she's gonna resent me, or feel like I'm belittling whatever you came up with, and they do not have an opportunity to fix it. Because you did not share what the problem was.
Are you really loving them if you didn't open the door for them
to grow or evolve or share? Or do you even know if they love you if they're not willing to make an adjustment?
Right?
Exactly.
So you haven't given them, the person, the chance to either show them their true colors, whatever they are, or we will get the best possible outcome, which is the affirmation or the appropriate response. Like you made a determination in your head, you played it out, the script, and now you're acting.
I get it all the time.
You wrote your play and you're acting.
They'll try to give me all the problems that they're dealing with, and I'll ask them, well, why are you still there? And their response is typically, because I don't want to be alone. And my response is always, not typically, if you don't want to be by yourself or with you, why in the world do you expect somebody else to want to be with you? And their response is, well, what do you mean? You just said you don't want to be alone. That means you do not like your own company. For you not to want to be by yourself means you don't like you. So why in the world do you expect someone else to like you also?
I think that we get lost in our words sometimes. Like, we say that very flippantly, like, because I don't want to be alone. And that seems like a reasonable answer to some people. However, if you unpack
that's their truth.
Yes, it's true.
Because they don't love their self.
They don't ever go back to that onion.
Yeah,
they peel back to that part.
Not at all.
Because that again goes back to doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So if you do the work and you come from a place of loving yourself versus hating others or trying to use others as a decoy
or generalizing
on you,
men are like this. That's how women are. Stuff like that.
Then you can't have a crucial conversation from a space of honesty, because you're too busy playing your script in your head.
Exactly.
And you're not even letting the honesty come forth. Like it's like a mirror. When you see yourself and you don't like yourself, then you're projecting on that person things that you think you're gonna say.
But and it's all opportunity. People just don't like what the opportunity could be. It can be an opportunity that you found out that you're really not loved. So that could be your opportunity to get out of that situation. Or it can be an opportunity to find out, wow, you're willing to do that for me? I really am loved by you. And now a level, a dimension. You're really in it for me.
So crucial conversations could be the gateway to the levels.
Right? I run to conflict. I'm as crazy as that sounds. I run to conflict. I never backpedal from it. I go to conflict. No, I don't. No, not at all. I didn't say I create it. I say when I see it, I run to it. It's a fire. I'm going to that fire and I'm going to address it. I don't play around with it. I don't wait or whatever. No, there's no ambiguity as to what Eddie or Edward L. Fairley feels or thinks. No, it's not. It's not gonna happen. And I think that makes for a great relationship if you don't have to try to put on a decoder ring to figure out what the heck I'm thinking or feeling. So
one of the things that troubles, I've had this said to me, that people who run to conflict are actually the ones to be afraid of, or that are stirring up the trouble. And I want you to kind of dig a little deeper in that, because I say that to say, I think what you're saying is, if I run toward conflict, number one, I'm running with confidence that I am comfortable enough in myself to find out what the root cause of that conflict is and try to resolve it, versus I want to just run to the fire so I can be, a spectator and scream, "Ooh, look at the fire!" Like that's not. There's two different reasons to run toward conflict. One is to stir it up and amplify it, and another is because I'm really wanting to solve it and to move to the next level.
Well, there's more than just those two. You have to, and I'm very sensitive to this. People are a representation of what they think love is. That is my
always,
truth.
every day.
That is my truth, and it's unfortunate that they get that from whatever, whether it be their upbringing, television shows, whatever that is. They've concluded that's what love is. So that is what they give out, and unfortunately, whether it be abuse, seeing love wrong, or what have you, that is what they bring to the table.
Play that out.
Exactly. So a person that makes that statement, or a person that runs the conflict, now let's analyze who I am and what you've learned about me in the last hour, or however long this has been, or the last video. When I've shared with you, when I do converse about anything, I share. Yes. I don't share to change your mind. I don't share to change your views. I share. Once I shared, I'm done with the whole thing. Now, if you're running to conflict to make someone feel that you're right, if you're trying to change someone's thought process and all that stuff like that, that is just that's making it worse. That's not what I'm about. I'm saying there is an issue. I will address it. I'll address it either via sharing it, and you do what it is, what you want to do with it, and then I'm done. But I'm not running from that conflict. I am going to it because it's a problem, and any problem has a solution. So I'm going to it. We can either solve it by agreeing to disagree but understanding one another, or we can solve it by collectively trying to figure out how to make this better. But what I am not going to do is leave feeling disrespected. I'm not going to leave, I'm not going to say I'm not going to leave feeling disrespected. I'll leave feeling disrespected, but I'm not going to stay. No, I'm not going to stay in that environment and all that stuff like that, being disrespected. I will leave feeling disrespected, but I'm not going to maintain or stay in an environment that leaves me feeling disrespected or anything like that. So, but and I'm gonna be heard. I will be understood, and oftentimes the worst response is lets me know that a seed has been planted.
Okay, so let's put it in context with your mission.
Okay.
And your mission is to plant seeds of empowerment around thinking about life differently, or just challenging status quo in an effort to get people to really dig down into their truth. So it's never to hurt, but it's just to kind of reveal the options, the possibilities.
Yeah, but the way that the process just happens to hurt.
And sometimes the process happens to hurt. Sometimes the process happens to hurt. But I mean, at the same time, we're all in the same journey. We're all going to constantly have conflict. We're all kites. We're all kites. Like a kite festival. I was born in Boston. We had a great kite festival. But in my mind, I'm seeing like the hundreds of thousands of kites flying in the air at the same time. And there's so many different currents that you can see kites going in different directions. Wow. But there's some kites that you see just do a swan dive because they missed the current. Crash. But if we're not taking what you're saying to heart, we'll take that swan dive because we won't. A good kite keeps going higher because it reaches the next current. It finds a current and it goes to the next one. It finds a current and goes to the next one. So each conflict does take you to a different stage of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've had the conflict you see between two 2-year-olds is different than the conflict between two 16-year-olds. There's conflict between the 30-year-old. The first phase of your marriage is different than 5 years in. It's a different conversations. Right. If you're having the same argument, 10 years in, what's going on? So same thing in the workplace. If you're having the same conversation, the same crucial conversation over and over again, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be there very long because that's not growth.
No, because you're not looking at yourself.
That's true, right? And that's the point. Is that you're running to conflict is about running to growth, not running to stirring up trouble.
That's the best way to. That's the best way to articulate.
What I was hearing from you, and one of the things I respect about him the most, is the strength of character. There is no wavering in his persona around dealing with difficult subjects, which makes you, the person trying to deal with a difficult subject, comforted in knowing that there's someone who's got shoulders strong enough to deal with the ugly and get to the other side, which makes that a good friendship and a good work relationship the same way. If you're gonna grow and show growth, then you got to be willing to have the vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Show that you can process it, recover, come back with a solution. Then I'm going to invest more in you, just like I would do in a relationship.
That's what I mean by it's all opportunity.
It's all opportunity.
You're going to learn something.
Yes.
If you allow yourself to learn something, but if you run from it, you never get that opportunity to have an aha moment and grow.
Because here's what people perceive, and I've experienced a couple times. For people who run to conflict, because the goal is not growth per se, but to take it to its natural end, using fire. So we're running to a fire. Some people run to the fire to say they put it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not to do the investigation afterwards.
Exactly.
To figure out what caused the fire so we can prevent it from the future. They just want to go run and pour water on it and say, see what I did?
Yeah.
And you're like, you weren't even supposed to be here. And now you've messed up the evidence.
And
so
more than likely, they're the reason why the fire started.
Right. So they started it so they get the attention to go out and turn it and put
And that's often what people do. They analyze where they landed and miss where they tripped.
Woo. Unpack.
So there's no growth whatsoever. So they get caught up in where they're at. Remember I was saying you're arguing about stuff that has nothing to do with what it actually is. Mm-hmm. So they never reflect or self-reflect so that they can see where they trip, and they continue to fall at the same place, and they're there and they're like, it's men or it's women or it's whatever, because they landed there, but they tripped in the dating phase or whatever. And I deal with people that are married, and I make them read the dating phase, and they're like, well, I don't need that, I'm married. Well, yeah, you do, because you're gonna realize that you tripped here.
Yes. And you're falling in marriage.
And that's how this book was created. My marriage was failing.
Relationship IQ is the book. You can Google it. It's on Amazon. Relationship IQ. Next. Go ahead.
So I was failing at my marriage. That's where I was analyzing my marriage, and then I had to unpack where did we go wrong in our marriage. And then that led me to relationship. And I'm like, wow, we went wrong here. And that led me to dating. Wow, we went wrong there. And then...
see, you ran to the conflict.
Exactly.
You, instead of just dousing the fire and running away,
to myself.
you unpacked and went, well, where was the root of the fire? Was it kerosene? Was it electrical? What happened so that I can rebuild this house fireproof?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So with that, it unpacked it and led to dating, and then ultimately to me. Self-esteem issues, all that stuff.
Let's go back to people who trip over here and they fall over here, and it's everybody's fault over here because they didn't realize they tripped. But isn't it true that if you are so busy worried about where you fell, suppose you get up, and people do this, and they still won't acknowledge that they tripped? Like, could you acknowledge what you learned? I get it. We're all supposed to learn something from this. No. But if you don't acknowledge what you learned, we think you're just falling for the sake of falling.
But if you are a blamer, you never.
You are a blamer.
Exactly, because it's never you. It's never. I mean, honestly, and you said it earlier, like I said, talk about where you trip. You said it in our previous interview. You said, let me pause while I gather my thoughts here. So you were talking about the reason why I'm bringing this up, and then it'll come to me.
Okay.
So we were talking about people running from the problems, and there you go. That I knew it would come to me. You were talking about the training. We were trained and programmed to be the way that we are.
To look for Prince Charming because we all watch Cinderella. So he's supposed to walk in looking good and smell good.
So we talked about training, and we are actually trained to run from conflict, and I analyzed that, and I made sure that it didn't come into my household. Anyone that has brothers and sisters, if you two fight, what do your parents do?
Stop fighting, back it up.
Or they send you to your rooms. They separate you. With my children, if they're fighting, they go to the same room, and they have to figure it out. If you're separated and sent to different rooms,
you never learn how to
learn how to address conflict, figure out how to resolve the issue. So we're taught, literally, they're fighting, separate the kids.
Well, even in marriage, and truth be told, divorcee, the resolution was not a tool that I grew up kind of learning. I think I've learned it more in the workplace
Yeah,
because there's
yeah.
policies and procedures
Yeah.
that kind of guide it. And now, having gone through enough conflicting situations to realize there's a methodology that actually works, I realized, oh, well, okay. But no, interpersonally, yeah, you separate yourself.
Exactly.
Go pray for that person.
Yeah.
Don't talk to them.
Yeah.
But go pray for that person.
Yeah.
Or, we're not gonna have any fighting here. Everybody stop yelling. Like, just stop talking. Just shut down.
Yeah.
Which is
Most
a
certainly. It's
learned
taught.
behavior, right?
If you really analyze, you will see, and you will find you and understand you better. So that way you can stop doing certain things. But if you don't get to the root of those things, you cannot fix it. You can't fix it. But we don't take the time to have a relationship with ourselves, and then we want a relationship with other people.
That's why I believe like human connections and no love are connected, because if you don't have a good foundational relationship with yourself, how are you going to connect to someone else and connect the dots in your life if you don't understand the relational component there? One of my dear friends always says that I look at things from a framework perspective. Well, the frame works because it's the infrastructure that supports everything. Well, the frame is connected. If you don't know who you are, then you're not going to build strong foundational relationships that frame your view of life or your view of your workspace. But you need to know you first.
If you don't know you, you're insatiable. What I mean by that is,
if you don't know you, you're insatiable.
Let me tell you why. Because you can't articulate what you want.
So you're never happy.
How in the world can...
moment.
You don't even know what makes you happy. How can you even share with someone?
If you don't know
how to...
It's going to be a footnote on the bottom. If you don't know you, you're insatiable. And don't nobody want to be around you. Because they can't. They can't take it. It's too much.
You don't know you.
You don't know you. You're never going to be happy. It's never going to be enough. Yep. It's somebody else's fault.
Exactly.
It's just, you're insane. And there's always another problem.
Yep.
Right? You're never really content. Same thing. If you don't know you, then you are not promotable. To be honest. Because it doesn't matter what job we put you in.
You're exactly right. You don't know where you need to be
happy.
Let alone where you want to be.
And here's the worst part. You can't even contribute in the space you're assigned because you're too busy worried about where you're supposed to. You think you're supposed to be.
That's good.
Or where you are looking to be, that you can't even master your current domain. Then what good are you?
That's good. That's really good.
And even in your relationships, right? So you're in your relationship, but you're worried about what the Prince Charming is supposed to be like, and you're too worried, is he Prince Charming, that you don't even get to see him.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly
he's
right.
a cool person.
Exactly
but
right.
you don't know, because you too worried, well, how come your hair's not parted on the left? And how come but did you see who he is at all?
Nope.
You're never happy. I'm not going to just pick on women, because, men are the same way. They're looking for the vixen or whatever the heck they're looking for. If she's cool, and you haven't accepted cool, then how you can't even critique it. Because if you don't know you, you're insatiable. That's all I'm saying. That's a good one. Touche. This is why we have great conversations. Yeah. Because he comes up with nuggets that are just thought-provoking. And I think that's why I wanted him to be a part of this process of getting to know each other, building the foundation. I mean, again, for me, Yumi and No Love are connected forever. If you don't have a good core, you can't really, build out. And so what he's helped me to do personally is build a good core. And I think that what we're going to keep talking about is our core through knowing how to love and knowing what love
I
is.
think this whole concept and platform is priceless. People charge for this type of stuff. I charge.
He does. He's doing a favor for me. He's doing a favor
for relationship
I appreciate it.
Coaching and counseling and that empowerment. So for you to take your circle of mentors and friends and share them with your people so that they can grow and evolve to better professionals and ultimately entrepreneurs, I think that is a very kind gift to share who you've become, because I do believe that you are what you read, and you are who you surround yourself with. And for you to share who you surround yourself with, and allow people to see what has molded your thinking and who you are becoming, I think that is a very kind gesture.
You know, I just, you know, I love you a lot.
Yes,
a lot. But you've been with me through the growth. You know, the work. I know that you were put in my life for that specific place, the core. And it's been incredible. But it's been painful. It's been confrontational. But it's also developed intimacy. It's developed trust. And you know, like you said, I believe that there's people who just don't have the privilege of having a lot of different people that were assigned to them for specific areas of their life, and this is a big one. And you have a platform because you charge because it's so important. You can't be everything to everybody.
Well, I mean,
but you try.
Well, honestly, you have to charge so people will take it seriously. If they don't charge,
work is work.
Exactly.
Don't get it twisted.
If you don't charge, they're not going to put in the work. And
I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on myself.
So that's what I'm saying. So you have to charge because that shows commitment. Yeah, exactly. And it shows that they are determined to get where they want to be and to experience what they need to get where they want to be.
And we can't get there.
Yeah, and
sometimes it takes a village.
Basically. Oh yeah, most certainly. So
thanks for being a part of my village, and I'm sharing with you some of my tribal leaders.
Wow.
Who sit around the fire, have little chit chats. But we should have fun while we're learning.
Yeah.
But again, it's really critical that you invest the time in yourself and find people like Edward.
It's crazy because this is literally what we do.
It is.
This is not. I mean, we just happen to just turn the camera on. This is how our conversations they evolve into whatever, and we go from there. This is just. I enjoyed it.
So actually, what I'd like you to do is, if you have any questions, please comment on this video, and we'll have Edward come back and answer some of them, or delve deeper into something that he kind of talked about. But this is just the beginning of Yumi Connections, and hopefully, I would like to see a podcast between No Love and Yumi. But we're working it out. Thanks for visiting, helping us participate in this really great conversation and connecting the dots.
I appreciate your minds and time. I wish you all well. Take care.